remember seeing once, I think it was in Forbes, and they ranked 50 or 40 different types of interactions among people by which ones were best done in person and which ones were best done virtually. And most of the virtual ones were like short little, get-togethers, tactical 1 minute or 2 minute meetings that you'd want to do that way. Other ones were, interviewing, training, that kind of thing. Do you see any trends in that breakdown between what's done best in person versus remotely? And is that changing at all over time? And if so, how does that affect the design of what you're putting in workplaces? And a follow-up question on that, when I used to be involved in office design, we would design those places for 3-5 years at least. Nobody expected anybody to come in and change anything other than maybe a panel. What is the frequency of change in your interior programs today? So 2 related questions, I guess.
Oh my gosh. Every one of your questions could be a whole episode, which I love.
It really could be. Wow.
So in 2014, when we were just from Miller, we did a project called Anatomy of Collaboration because the term collaboration was screwing us up. We made too many assumptions about what that meant, only to find that one person meant they wanted a coffee bar, another person wanted Slack. It's like, well, what does this mean? So we broke it down into a framework of activities that we've been using, and it has pretty pedestrian language. Like, are we talking about informal chatting? Or are we talking about group co-creation? Are we talking about a presentation? Like, just get after, like, what is the nature of this a little bit? But I actually think we need a deeper framework. And so I'm unfamiliar with the one you referenced, but I think the more we can get after it, the better. There are some characteristics we definitely see. If it's about building or restoring broken trust, being in person, kind of like long distance relationships, being in person has huge benefits. If it's about long duration things that are just very difficult to do on video, being in person is better. If it's about finding opportunities to interact with people you have no reason to otherwise have a call or a meeting with, being in person is better. And then there's other times when being distributed and using video or asynchronous chat or other tools, Mural, is so enormously beneficial. But I am concerned about one thing. The user interface of almost all of the tools we use today. So I'm thinking Teams, I'm thinking Zoom, I'm thinking Mural, Miro, Google Docs. They tend to be optimized for the individual. So if you talk to a technologist and say collaboration, they're usually thinking you with your laptop working on something that somebody else worked on 2 hours ago. Distributed asynchronous, not co-located synchronous. And it creates, if I quote my friend Caitlin Begg, who I saw yesterday, an atomization of the individual. The technology will almost continually force us physically apart from each other. And even using a platform like this would be extremely difficult with 3 of us in a room when everybody else is on their own. So we have to find limits to when the technology, like sometimes the technology is awesome. Other times the technology really stands in the way. And even with something like Miro, if I were back in the hardware technology world, I'd be trying to come up with some sort of interactive display that's optimized to use software like that, because you can't get in front of most screens, and it's not designed to allow you to control it as a group. So I would say, Fran, the probably future trajectory that's on my mind the most is that the more we adopt new technologies to help us collaborate, in the back of our minds, we need to recognize that will usually encourage us to be by ourselves with our laptops somewhere apart from others. And the workplace can support group use of that, but it also just needs to support interactions that aren't going to be well facilitated on technology.